The emergence of Athenian democracy was a gradual process. It took place over the course of centuries and was marked by the power struggle between the upper and lower classes of Athenian society, as well as the revision of Athenian law. According to ancient tradition, in its earliest days, Athens was ruled by a series of kings. These kings consolidated control over Attica, the region in Greece in which Athens is located. However, any monarchical power which may have existed increasingly devolved into the hands of the aristocracy of Athens during the 7th and 8th centuries BCE. These aristocrats would gather into a council known as the Areopagus, a body which would exert a varying degree of influence over Athenian government for much of the classical age. The Areopagus, named for the rock face on which its members would meet, would appoint the archons, the chief magistrates of the city, who along with the Areopagus controlled Athenian affairs. This system fueled resentment in the lower classes. Thus, towards the end of the 7th century, the famous legislator Draco emerged, who established a law code for the Athenians. His laws were famously harsh, but had a profound impact on later Athenian and Western legal systems. Draco replaced what had largely been an oral code with a written law code. Therefore, the laws could not be arbitrarily applied. The laws also cemented political rights for citizens outside of the aristocracy. These reforms would not bring stability to the Athenian polis, however. The poorer Athenians relied on subsistence agriculture, which oftentimes barely sustained them even in good years. During years of bad harvests, these poorer Athenians would accrue debts to wealthier citizens, many of which could never be repaid, resulting in the loss of the debtors' lands or even their freedom, which was often used as collateral to repay loans. This situation fueled social unrest and class resentment, and led to increasing instability in Athens. Despite Solon's reforms, Athens again suffered from internal strife. From this strife, the tyrant Pisistratus emerged and seized control of the city. After his rule and that of his sons ended, the politician Cleisthenes enacted a series of reforms which aimed to break the power of the aristocracy and to ensure that no tyrant would again be able to dominate Athens. Cleisthenes organized the population into demes, or villages, which served as local political units. This served to weaken familial loyalties and identity based on bloodlines in favor of a non-lineal pan-Athenian identity based along geographic lines. Cleisthenes also established one of the most distinguishing features of Athenian democracy, the process of sortition, by which the Athenian citizenry was selected at random to fill government offices, rather than being appointed or elected to their post. It may have been Cleisthenes who established the Athenian practice of ostracism as well, to ensure that no individual might ever make himself tyrant. Thus, by the close of the 6th century, the essential elements of Athenian democracy as we know it had developed. As alluded to, the Athenian democratic system was not always a stable one, and Athenian democracy would be interrupted by periods of non-democratic rule. Throughout its history, Athenian democratic forms would be troubled by events and crises which it met with varying success.